got a lot to talk about with UFOs today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Yeah, to start with, Lieutenant Colonel John Blitch is talking about himself being an experiencer, a contactee, an abductee. And of course, Lieutenant Colonel Blitch has vouched for Jake Barber, and Blitch himself is vouched for by Tim Gallaudet. He seems very solid. He seems very credible, but he is not somebody that has only had access to these black programs, the UFO control group. He is also an experiencer himself. During one point, he was really struggling and writhing about during an abduction experience, and he encountered a Mantis being, a 7-foot tall male being. He describes it as having a male presence that was... well, I'll let him tell it in his own words.
And he's just looking at me very intently and explaining to me, look, this body that you got, it is just a soul housing group. It's a brain housing group. It is just a machine that your soul occupies for this lifetime. And so, yeah, we're going to mess with it. We're going to get up under the hood and we're going to adjust the carburetor, right? I had just dated myself there. You know, we may swap a couple of parts out, but we can't steal you. We can't steal your soul. We can't steal your consciousness.
So yeah, this was the being's attempt to reassure him that nothing bad would happen during the abduction because they can't steal our soul or their consciousness. But less reassuring stuff happens after.
But here's the thing. As proof, there was this image that he put him, and it was terrifying. His mandibles that were kind of behind like a casing or a shell opened up, and he starts grabbing chunks of my cheek and he's ripping it, and there's blood spattering on the wall, and I'm feeling the tug, and I'm feeling this flesh, you know, and the whole time he is conveying to me, see, we can't get your soul. We could do a lot of damage to your body if we want to. We don't. We're trying to help you. But this is how bad it could get. So stop squiggling around and let us get this done.
Yeah, so what to think about that? Now he, reiterates that this is a projection in his mind. They weren't actually ripping at his cheeks, or the being wasn't actually ripping at his cheeks. Now, I have actually come across not exact experiences like that, but similar experiences before where Mantis beings have been violent, where they have ripped at human flesh that turned out to be a facsimile of human flesh. Mantis beings are so weird. They're these often portrayed as these august, regal presences with their big flowing capes, and they're the overlords of the grays and of much, if not all, of the associated phenomenon with the abductions and stuff over Earth. They're masters of what is going on. They're really more managers, sent out by somebody else. They seem to be higher dimensional beings that come into this reality, and they occupy these Mantis forms, but they aren't the ultimate bosses. They serve somebody else, and we don't know who that is. But yeah, they will rip and tear at human flesh, or at least facsimiles of human flesh, despite their regal bearing. But here's what's weird about Mantis beings. I mean, if that wasn't weird enough, they often have familial relationships with the contactees or abductees. People will refer to these beings as my mother or my father. They will have lifelong connections and relationships with humans. They'll look to them as parental figures. I know somebody like that personally, that has a Mantis being that he regularly interacts with, that he considers his father. And, you know, that human that I'm friends with is gifted. He's a remote viewer and as well as a healer. He's a very gifted individual. He also has some serious physical disabilities, and I wonder why the beings can't heal him or don't heal him. It's interesting because they do seem to have these abilities. John Blitch said they can swap parts out. The ET presence, the other dimensional presence, whatever we're calling them, NHI, is very complicated and very weird. But the being was reassuring him that he has a soul and that they can't touch it. They can only bother his flesh. So is that reassuring to you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Meanwhile, speaking of Jake Barber, Ross Colart seems optimistic about advancing Jake's cause in Congress and in the Trump administration and getting this information out there. Hopefully, eventually resulting in Jake appearing before Congress like David Grush and Lou Elizondo have.
It's not the carping critics out there in social media UFO land that we have to convince. It's Congress and also the new administration. And I can tell you, without giving anything away, there is a high degree of receptiveness to hearing his allegations and dealing with them and investigating them properly. And I think we're at the beginning of a long reveal.
Okay, that sounds really encouraging that Congress and the new administration might be taking Jake seriously and that something will come of that. You know, what came out of David Grush, or one of the things that came out of David Grush coming forward, is the UAP Disclosure Amendment. I mean, however neutered it was ultimately, at least we have a UAP, a UFO Disclosure Amendment that got signed into law by the sitting president. That's huge. Can you imagine that happening 10 years ago? That's massive. So just imagine what could happen with Jake's testimony. I mean, David Grush was really our gateway to Jake Barber and people like Jake Barber that are on the inside of the UFO control group, at least to some extent. David Grush got us to that level. That's huge, guys. So now that we're at that level and we have access to that information, and Congress theoretically could get access to that information, what could happen? Meanwhile, Jake Barber clarifies the role of psionic assets and whether they are willing or not. And because he's speaking to Michael Herrera's information. And, you know, when Mike and I did our interview and when Mike has done other interviews, you know, the idea of trafficking came up and that maybe these are, you know, unwilling psionic assets. And Mike did talk about how they were treated well and that they were glad to be where they were. But there was a little confusion there whether they were willing or not. Well, Jake says that they are indeed willing.
It's my understanding that the programs that are conducted to recruit psionic assets in third world countries, these people come willingly. And if you were to go down there and try and liberate them with any type of, you know, liberation army, you would be liberating people that don't want to be liberated. They get very well taken care of. They get fed. There's actually a sense of pride, especially within the Native American communities that have been involved in this program that do cooperate outside of CONUS as well. There's a sense of pride with this skill and ability. And so, again, this is another example of, it's almost like we want there to be darkness in this area. And there is not darkness. And I'll tell you, by nature of my experience, as I shared, non-human intelligence itself does not operate that way. And so these people that are, whose skills are nurtured, are basking in a glow of light, I would assume, most of the time when they're doing their work.
Now, that's a beautiful thing, and I love it. And, you know, I agree from doing Reiki and other things that you really have to be in a space of love, and that really helps connect you. And that seems to be an integral part of it. However, he does cannot contradict himself a little bit here. Let's see. He says it right. Let's see, right around here, I think, because he says, you know, there's no darkness in NHI in that clip. But he says here, the answer of whether or not they are malevolent or benevolent is yes. Just like us humans, we are both. It is our experience that we get the most substantial reaction / results with good energy. And that's exactly what I've talked about many, many times on this channel, is that you have to go into these contact experiences with love and light, in that often you will get what you put out. It'll meet you halfway. And there is a dark side, and you can interact with it. But why would you? There are people that do that. I had one of my ghost hunting buddies wanted to summon a demon. I mean, if you believe in demons, if you believe in negative entities and that you can interact with them and summon them, why not summon an angel or a being of light? I don't understand the mentality of people that would summon darkness, but there are people that would do that. And I highly recommend you not doing that. I've had some fantastic experiences interacting with the light and the positive side of this stuff, and I highly recommend it. It's some good stuff. It's some good stuff, guys. So yeah, go into this with love and light. Try to tap into the love and the light, and what you put out, you might very well get. You have to resonate. You have to vibrate, whatever you want to call it, in that positive headspace and that positive soul space. And yeah, it's some amazing experiences can be the result. Meanwhile, mystery drones are still going on, and they're getting weirder. Yeah, there's this weird new subset of mystery drones. Okay, here we go. This is just a regular plane by comparison that this poster is posting. All right, so we got the regular plane doing its plane thing. And then we have this thing. Okay, that looks like a plane, kind of, except there's no contrails, no exhaust. And then as you get closer to that thing, it just doesn't look like a plane. Something is going on there. It looks like a silhouette of a plane or a model of a plane. So is that a drone or a quote-unquote mystery drone? Or is that a UFO pretending to be a plane? Because I've talked about that before, where that is a thing, where UFOs can and do pretend to be planes. Yeah, and that's where it was. Let's see. And here is another one. Very similar. Check it out. Where we have this plane-like object that is just performing weirdly. There it is, seeming to hover. It looks like a plane. It looks very similar to the thing that we just saw, but it is slowing down, and you can see that it almost has this same fake-looking plane, bottom, where it doesn't quite look right despite the lights, and it's going way too slow. And listen to that. That is not the noise a plane should be making that low. Yeah, and again, it just looks like this fake plane. So yeah, the mystery drone phenomenon is still there. It's still imitating planes, and we don't have any answers. And so far, no answers seem to be forthcoming from the new administration. However, they have promised answers, and I am slightly encouraged because they have ordered the release of the JFK files and the MLK files and the RFK files. Seems to indicate a willingness to be transparent on this stuff, and they have suggested they will be transparent on the UFO stuff. Now, I'm not expecting anything major, but I do think we will get some stuff disclosed. We will get some old documents or something that will be trotted out for us. Something like that. It's something inconclusive, but something I think will get put out there. I don't think the president or any president has the ability to provide UFO disclosure in that way. I don't think they have access to the deeper levels of the UFO control group, or even the basic levels beyond the surface stuff that people like Harry Reid and Tom Wilson have gotten access to before, which was enough to show you that there's something there. And if they could just reveal that much, that, hey, they found a ship and they tinkered with it, and maybe they made some progress, maybe they didn't. I mean, boom, there's UFO disclosure right there. If they could just give us that much. But will they? Meanwhile, Salvatore Pais, who holds the patent on some UFO technology, or reverse engineered UFO technology, or UFO adjacent technology for the military, who may have independently come up with this stuff, or maybe not. When you hear him speak, it sounds like he independently came up with this technology. That's hard to believe, but hey, maybe he did. Maybe he did. Who knows, right? Well, he is talking about MH-370.
Don't forget Dave Rossi's fourth orb. There must be 4 orbs. Remember the whole idea that once you open the black hole, what if there is a white hole? But the three orbs would have your 3 axes, hence your point of origin. But there must be a destination, so there must be a 4th orb.
Negative mass rate.
There must be a 4th orb.
So you think this is?
It's not me. Dave Rossi came up with this idea that there must be a 4th orb. I think he's one right on the money.
Okay, there you go. So Sal Paez seems like he's pro MH370. He thinks there is an anomalous angle to MH370, that it wasn't a simple crash, that these orbs, whether they were NHI or human operated, did make that plane vanish. I have talked about MH370 before, and I am definitely on the side that something happened. There's been no bodies that have washed up, no major plane debris. There's no debris field. There should have been a debris field. There was information that was not revealed publicly that was known to whoever put this stuff out there, the videos out there. Again, so either that's inside disinformation, or else it's genuine footage of something anomalous happening. It's one of those two things. It's either actual disinformation to hide some skullduggery, or it is an anomalous event of some sort, whether those orbs were NHI or not. Sal seems to think that those orbs are legit, and the way to understanding it and explaining it is to find the missing 4th orb. Meanwhile, famous remote viewer Joseph McGonigal says he was actually part of a UFO crash recovery team. He was like the psionic asset of a UFO crash recovery team.
I was part of a non-identified flying object recovery team for 15 years.
He says that most of the objects they found were advanced human vehicles. It's unclear if he means, ARVs or human reproduction vehicles or alien reproduction vehicles. But he does say they did find at least one genuine ET craft.
Knowing about. There was one case, however, that seemed to be real. And that's the one case that also seemed to have had a live entity on board.
That is super fascinating. We don't know what became of that entity. And as for the craft, he imagines it got taken away to wherever these things get taken away, likely right Patterson or somewhere like that. Last but not least, that time our girlfriend's Python Julius learned how to open doors. Yeah, that's a no. That's a no, guys. Let me know what you think about it all in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the like button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Grab a t-shirt in the merch store. Become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.